Cowgirls Don't Cry. Red Dirt Royalty. Silver James is your author. Harlequin Desire. Most people just call me Chance since that's my name. Fine, so why are you here, Chance? Can I be honest with you? I don't know. Can you be honest? Damn, but that question is a little too close to home. Good thing he was the poker player in the family. He deflected her question with a wink and a little smirk. I'll plead the fifth on that one. You know what folks say? All's fair in love and war. Yeah, but which is this? You tell me, Cassidy, since you still haven't answered my question. Which one? Well, you're a man, so we know you can't be honest. So that leaves the other one. Why are you here? Ow. I lodge a protest in the men of everywhere, in the name of men of everywhere. He offered her another crooked grin and a wink as he added, I came to see you. Why? Time to lay his cards on the table. Because I want to take you to dinner. Cowgirls Don't Cry is a red dirt royalty book. These Oklahoma millionaires work hard and play even harder. If you're on Twitter, tell us what you think of Harlequin Desire. Hashtag Harlequin Desire. And as you can tell, my golden doodles tried to get a hold of this book. Dear reader, I'm an Oklahoma red dirt cowgirl, bred, born, and raised. Once you get the red dirt in your blood or on your clothes, it never washes out. When I was lucky enough to share a walk through New York City and lunch with the man who would become my Harlequin editor, I popped off and asked, if I write you a Harlequin Desire story, will you read it? He laughed and said, absolutely. Back in my writing cave, I went to work. I wanted to write about my home state. The people here are fascinated and enduring as the land itself. We have cowboys, oilmen, billionaire country music stars, and smart women more than capable of wrangling their men. It took hearing a country and western song sung by two Okies to figure that story out of Cassidy Morgan and Chance Barron. I wrote the manuscript, my editor read it, and here it is. To say I'm excited to share Chance and Cassie's story is an understatement. I hope you enjoy reading it as much as I enjoyed telling it. If you like it, please let me know. Happy reading, Silver James. Cowgirls Don't Cry. Silver James, Harlequin Desire. Silver James likes to walk on the wild side and coffee, okay? She loves coffee. Warning her muse, Iffy, runs with scissors, a cowgirl at heart. She's always been an Army officer's wife and mom and has worked in the legal field, fire service, and law enforcement. Now retired from the real world, she lives in Oklahoma and spends her days writing and with the assistance of her two Newfoundland dogs, the cat who rules them all, the mirrored characters living in her imagination. She loves interacting with readers on her blog, Twitter, and Facebook. Find her at www.silverjames.com. Books by Silver James, Harlequin Desire, Red Dirt Royalty Series, Cowgirls Don't Cry. And it's a copyright book back in 2015. To my dad, who taught me how to ride and all about the cowboy honor, to the family for always believing in me, and to Charles, my editor, who for his faith and abilities and enthusiasm and his patience. We're going to see how far we get into the book. I want to stop here in about 10 minutes. Chance Barron always knew exactly what he wanted. At that moment, he set his sights on the attractive blonde sitting at the hotel bar. The late March blizzard that had shut down the Chicago airport, and he wasn't going anywhere in a hurry. The weather service predicted the storm would blow over by morning, and he'd be on the first flight back to Oklahoma City. In the meantime, there was a pretty little gal, all alone, knocking back martinis like water. She twisted her hair up on the top of her head and secured it with something that looked like a chopstick. Her face remained angled away from him, but the graceful curve of her jaw and neck had him noticing her profile. The red jacket and black stack shows fashion flair, and despite the snow, she sported boots with impossible heels. He studied her like she was evidence in a hotly contested case, and debated how to phase his opening argument. She ordered another martini. When the drink was served and he watched her long fingers play with a plastic pick, and all but gulped as her full lips slid over the ripe green olive stuffed with a cocktail onion. His groin tightened and his mind conjured up sexy images. A one night stand wouldn't hurt, and he certainly be in a better mood to deal with the old man when he got home. Thoughts of Cyrus Farron intruded at the worst possible time because he was force of nature, oil, land, and cattle, politics and media, name the pie, and Chance's old man owned most of it. Too bad he was such a jackass. He delighted in setting up his spurs in the hides of his son, and Chance was no exception. He had his own law firm, though the family was a big client. He certainly wasn't in charge of the ranch breeding program, but his father had sent him on a fool's errand looking for a stud colt that didn't exist in the state of Illinois. And now here he was stuck in the Windy City during a freak March blizzard. The waitress approached, an interested smile curling at her lips. He declined her offer for a refill and handed her a crisp $50 bill to cover his tab and keep the tip. Keep the change, hun, he drawled. He slid out of the booth and honed in on the bar, only to realize that his quarry had escaped. Damn, he muttered, curse was lost in the clatter of glasses and hum of conversation as he pushed toward the exit. She couldn't have gone far. He'd find her and argue his case for keeping each other warm tonight. Cassie Morgan leaned against the window in the hotel lobby, her cell phone pressed to her ear. Outside, fat cotton balls of snow drifted across her view, like staring into the heart of a giant snow globe. Dizzy and a tad claustrophobic, her equilibrium thrown off by physically and emotionally, she closed her eyes. I'm not going to make it in time, am I? The words spoken quietly into the phone were ripped from the depths of her soul. No, darling, Baxter Boots Thomas didn't believe in sugarcoating things. The doctor don't know how he's hung on this long. She heard muted sounds from the heart and the respiration monitors beeping in the silence that followed on the other end of the line. And she recognized both the exhaustion and surrender in the voice of her father's best friend. Will you put the phone next to his ear? I know he can't hear me, but her throat closed and she blinked hard to clear her vision. She pictured Boots's action from the rustling sounds, and then she heard his muffled, go ahead. She talked and she reminisced in the ear, and her voice broke and she cried. When her mother died of pneumonia, Cassie had been there, so young and emotional. Pain was lost on her, but this hurt far more than she ever imagined it could. She wanted to be there. She wanted to hold his hand as he passed. He'd always been there for her, and she'd always managed to fail him. She disappointed in his eyes, apparently to her every time that she'd ever seen him over the past 10 years. Her father's voice whispered in her ear, cowgirls don't cry, baby. You gotta pick yourself up and ride. She blinked against the stinging tears and felt his sharply indrawn breath all the way to her toes. Then silence, he was gone. That quickly, 2 blinks of her eyelids, his sharply indrawn breath, and the great bear of a man who'd been her father existed no more. You okay, baby girl? Boots was back on the line. Cass dashed at her eyes with the back of her hand. Hell no, she wasn't okay, but she had to be. She had to take care of things, whether she wanted to be or not. I'll be there as soon as possible. Uncle Boots, I'm stuck here until the blizzard lets up. Couldn't even get back to my apartment, so I'm spending the night in a hotel here at O'Hara. Her voice remained steady, and she couldn't lose it. Not yet. I'll be on the first flight and out in the morning. I'll call you to give you my arrival time. She cleared the lump forming in her throat. Will you call the funeral home for me to pick him up? I don't let him cremate him until I get there, okay, Uncle Boots? I need to see him. To say goodbye, okay? Sure, babe. Girl, I'll take care of it. You know where he stashed the good stuff. Go home and toast the stubborn old coot for me. Sure thing, sugar. Now get your tail home. We've got work to do. I love you, Uncle Boots. Love you too, baby girl. She tapped the red end call on the bar on the phone and slipped it into her pocket. Damn. How could she absorb the enormity of this event, not let it drive her to her knees. She closed her eyes against the prickle of tears. She didn't cry, not in public. She hadn't learned from her dad cowgirls were tough. Well, damn it, she wasn't a cowgirl, not anymore, not for a long time. Cass continued to rest her forehead against the cool glass. She left the ranch behind 10 years ago with dreams of making her mark. She chased life in the big city where stars in the night sky were outshone by light from the skyscrapers, windows, and rumble of traffic sounded like far-off thunder. Ranch life was hard. Early morning, late nights, worrying about the weather, scarring heat, freezing cold, too much rain or not enough, early frosts, diseases that could wipe out a herd in a heartbeat. Rodeo was even harder. Her dad had loved the rodeo, and she had too once upon a time, when she was a little girl insulated from the reality of it all. Cass did not want to go home. She didn't even want to say goodbye to the man whom, against the measure, every boyfriend, even hurting him as she had, and regardless of his disappointing to his choices she made, he had to continue to love her. And now her dad was gone. She squared her shoulders and decided she needed to go to bed, despite the allure of another martini or a bottle of whiskey. Not that it would help. Booze wouldn't touch the ache in her heart, wouldn't numb the pain like a shot of Novocaine administered to a abscessed tooth. That's what her heart felt like, a deep throbbing abscess full of decay and vile selfishness. She hadn't been back home for a year, and now it was too late. She reconsidered getting another drink or ordering a bottle from room service. She knew that wasn't the answer. Plus, there were other drawbacks. Fighting the crowd at the airport and dealing with things at home while nursing a hangover just didn't appeal. Cass turned and buried her nose in a starched white shirt. Easy, darling. The man's huge hands gripped her biceps and kept her upright despite the fact her knees were turning into jelly. She tilted her head to look up, quite a ways up. She took in the chiseled jaw, the shadowed by dark stubble eyes, the color of amber and dark hair. Thick, silky, and worn just a little long so that they caressed the man's wide forehead and kissed the collar of his crisp shirt. She swallowed hard. I'm so sorry. I didn't see that you were standing there. At least she didn't stammer. 2 points for her, but she cringed inside at how breathless her voice sounded. It was surprise, that's all. She didn't want or need complications presented by the sexy man right now. It's okay, hon. I didn't mean to scare you. She backed away from him, shook his hand free. Scare me? Her brow quirked as she lifted her chin. I don't know. I don't scare easy, mister. Now that I have a good look at him, her brows narrowed in speculation. You sort of look familiar. Have we met before? Cass managed not to blush at those wolf-like eyes that traveled over her body, from head to toe and back again. A smile that she could only describe as appreciative spread across his full lips. Honey, as beautiful as you are, I'm sure I'd remember. He held out his hand as if to introduce himself. He was interrupted when the theme song from the old television show Rawhide emanated from his pocket, startling them both. A look of anger flashed across his face, and he muttered something that sounded like, "Damn it, I'm busy." Busy? She stepped back, putting more space between them for an insane moment. She wondered if he was stalking her. She noticed a man in the bar was watching her. This guy fit the general description, even though the corners of this place were dark and he'd remain in the shadows. He fitted a smile on his face, but was interrupted again, this time his phone interrupted with sounds of a siren. People stopped and turned and stared, and she stepped back farther. That sounds like an emergency, she hinted. We'll pick up there later. I've got some stuff to do. But thank you for joining me on part 1 of Harlequin Desire. Cowgirls, don't cry.